Hello everyone, Monty here, and today I'm going to make some pumpkin soup, so I thought I'd make a video. I love pumpkin soup. It's really easy to make. It just takes a long time to make because like any soup with a vegetable like the butternut squash that I did, you saute the onion and garlic first, you roast the butternut squash or the pumpkin first in the oven, you gotta scoop it out into a bowl, then you saute the onion and the garlic in the pan, and then when that's all sauteed, you throw in that cooked pumpkin that you scooped out and put into the bowl. You add chicken stock, pumpkin spice, pepper, some other seasonings, maybe a little cinnamon, and then once it's all mixed up and cooked, then you take it out, you put it into another bowl, and you gotta wash the pot again, you put it through the blender, put it back on the stove, heat it up, and it's done. So really, time altogether, well, it takes a while. You're cleaning the pots and moving it back and forth and roasting it in that pan, so there's a lot of pans to clean up, but it's really like the butternut squash soup I did for Mom and Marva last Sunday night for dinner. It was amazing. They loved it. It's just really kind of like an elegant kind of soup, and people really love it. The pumpkin, the butternut squash, so even though it takes time, it's worth it if you have the time. Do it. If you press for time, don't be making the soup. So I'm going to show you first how I do it. First, I'm going to roast the pumpkin for about 45 minutes to an hour. You want to poke it with the fork and it's kind of soft at 400 degrees, very easy. But first what we need to do is cut it. Now it's really hard to cut squash and pumpkin. I have this Roselle knife, I don't even know how to pronounce it, R-O-S-L-E. And I don't remember where I got it years ago. It's like a really heavy duty knife. But I need to really put my strength into it to cut it. So I don't know, I'm hard-headed. I should probably put it in the microwave for 3 to 5 minutes like people told me makes it easy to cut, but I just want to cut it because I'm afraid if I change anything with my recipe, it's not going to be as good. And I don't know what microwaving will do to it, but if you don't have the arm strength, definitely do that. Also, I learned from you guys, and a couple people told me when they buy their pumpkin or the butternut squash, they ask the grocer to cut it, and they're more than happy to. But you'd probably have to go to the supermarket right before you would make it, even though they're going to wrap it. I don't like cutting and having something open too long, but that could be an option. Ask them to cut it for you. So here we're going to do, I just put it in and I cut it in half. Now I've got these tiny little pumpkins because they're organic, and I don't even know if this is going to be enough. I'm making 2 turkeys today and soup for 2 dinner parties for my neighbor Debbie, my BFF. I told her I'd make, so I hope I have enough. I may not, but the only pumpkins they had at Whole Foods was these tiny little pumpkins. So anyway, I don't save the seeds, and so many people yell at me and tell me, oh, you're so wasteful, you're throwing out the seeds. Look, I don't have much free time in my life. I love making the soup. It takes so much time to begin with. I'm not gonna scoop out the seeds and roast them and do all that stuff. If you wanna do that, be my guest. I've never done it, so I can't give you directions. So I just cut it in half. I had an espresso, so I'm like buzzed right now. I cut it in half, and then I just scoop out the seeds. So I got 3 little pumpkins that I'm gonna do that with today. And it's just like when you do the spaghetti squash or the butternut squash. You just cut the pumpkin in half and you scoop out all the seeds. Now I wasn't ready, it's early here. So what I'm gonna show you is just that simple, and then I'm getting my seasoning, which I don't have ready, I apologize. And all I season my squash, no matter what kind of squash it is, I just put my pink Himalayan sea salt in and some garlic powder, and the flavor is amazing. I'll pick that up later. In the interest of time, because these videos could only be 15 minutes, and there's a lot to a video for the soup. So here we go, we're ready to put this all in the oven for 45 minutes to an hour. Just sea salt, garlic powder. I roast it flesh side up. Some people do it, say it's better fleshed down. I just do what works best. I've tried it down, I don't see the big difference, plus it makes a big mess. So I put a little parchment paper down on a baking sheet, pop it in the oven at 400 degrees for 45 minutes to an hour, and I'll turn the camera back on when it's ready and show you just how easy it is to scoop it out. Okay guys, the pumpkin came out of the oven. I've been letting it cool back over here for a while. I'm gonna show you what it looks like. It looks so beautiful. I like these little mini pumpkins. They're really beautiful. They cook for just 45 minutes in the oven. They look absolutely beautiful. And then all I do is I scoop out the pumpkin and put it in a bowl, and you'll see, I'm just gonna show you one because the interest of time, we only have, 15 minutes for these videos. It just separates right away. If it's cooked well, it just separates from the skin, and it's so easy to scoop it out. And not all of them are this easy. This pumpkin, these little pumpkins, organic pumpkins, really are separating well. And I'm just scooping out all the pumpkin, so you don't have to use that canned pumpkin. God knows what's in that stuff, right? And these are all organic, these pumpkins. And there you go. And I will say one thing, when I make soups and stuff, and like my mom always says, oh, but I make my food the same way you do it. You know, I try to listen to you and it doesn't taste the same way. I think it's because I use organic ingredients and she doesn't, that's why. Anyway, that's how easy it is. I'm gonna take all of the pumpkin out of all of the remaining 5 little mini pumpkins, and then I'm going to show you how I'm gonna throw it into the soup pot. I'm gonna saute the onion and garlic, about 1 medium to large onion, probably medium onion is better, sweet onion, and about 4 cloves of garlic, and then I saute those and get them cooked and sauteed to the onions like translucent, and the garlic is starting to brown a little bit. Then I'll throw this in, then we'll throw in the chicken stock, and then we'll add a little bit of salt. We'll cook it up a little bit, bring it to like a boil for a minute, and then we're gonna let it cool. We're gonna put it in a blender, blend it, put it back in, finishing up with the spices, with the pumpkin spice, cinnamon, some other things. And then I went and bought today, at Whole Foods was open today, I had to pick up a fruit tart. It's the only sugary dessert I'll eat that I love. And I got these pumpkin seeds to sprinkle on top. So I'm gonna bring half of the soup to my friend Debbie for her family, and half the soup for my mom, me, and Marva and her husband. So let's get started and finish up the soup. Guys, I just put about 4 tablespoons of olive oil in the pan. I turned on the flame, and now I'm going to add my minced garlic. It was about 4, actually I used a little bit more. They were very small cloves of garlic, fresh garlic, and it was about 6 or 8 small cloves. And then I didn't use the whole onion. I remembered that my last soup was a little bit too oniony, so it's about 1/2 of a medium-sized onion. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just put this in, let it get cooked, and then I will turn it back on and show you how I finish this up. We're just gonna saute the onion and garlic a little bit. Hey guys, so the onion's about cooked. It looks a little translucent. You may wanna wait till it gets a little brown, but this looks real good. And I'm gonna give it another minute or 2, and then I'm gonna put all of the pumpkin in and then add the chicken stock. While I'm waiting, I'll show you the chicken stock that I use. It's organic chicken stock from the 365 brand, which is the Whole Food brand. And I like using the low sodium because I like to add pink Himalayan sea salt that I think tastes better than regular salt. It's also healthier for you. Regular salt has no nutrients. It also, most of the salts have bad fillers and stuff that are not good for you, and the pink Himalayan sea salt is all natural. Okay, so that looks good. And what I'm gonna do now is add the pumpkin. There's a lot of pumpkin there. I was worried about not having enough soup, but I'm definitely gonna have. And I'm gonna need probably at least 6 cups, if not more. Each one of these are 4 cups in each one of these containers. And basically, whenever you make this soup and you're making like a squash soup, a butternut squash or pumpkin soup, you just want to cover the top of the squash, because it's in the gourd family. It's in the squash family pumpkin. So you just want to cover it. I just learned on the internet today that actually squash is considered a fruit, but people call it a vegetable. I was like shocked to hear that. I did not know that. So I learn things every day. I don't know it all, that's for sure. I'm perfectly imperfect. So anyway, here we go. Probably gonna need 1.5 of these. We'll see here in a minute. And I'm going to just see how much, yeah, this is now, because there's some sticking up. It's covered pretty much to the top. So what I like to do is I like to bring it to like a low boil and simmer it just for a little while. And then once we do that, I'm mashing it up with my spatula here a little bit, separating it. But as it cooks, it'll loosen up. I see a little funky something in there. And then when it's all done, I'm gonna add a little bit of sea salt. Let me do that now while it's cooking. And let's see here, where's my sea salt? Here it is. I'm gonna add a little sea salt. And then I do 21 turns, I don't know. I always do. I end up adding a little bit later anyway. But I'm just gonna add a little sea salt, and then I'll add all the rest of the spices later, let it cook down, bring it to a low boil and simmer for maybe 15 or 20 minutes. And then once it's all really mushy, it's already cooked, but once it gets cooked a little bit more and add the flavor to the chicken stock, I'll take it off the pot, I'll let it cool, and then I'll show you how I blend it in the blender. Then we put it back in. Oh, here's a couple of pumpkin seeds in here I gotta get out. And then we'll put it back on the stove and we will finish off the seasoning. I'll probably put some thyme in there. I may put some pumpkin spice. I gotta think about how I wanna make this. There's so many different ways I can make the pumpkin soup. But we're just gonna cover this right now and I'll turn it back on when it's ready to go into the blender. Okay guys, I've been cooking up a storm. I just prepped 2 turkeys, put mine in the oven, gonna bring my other one over to Debbie so she can put it in her oven. All she has to do is baste it every half hour. They both look beautiful. By the way, I stuffed mine with rosemary, thyme, garlic cloves, and red and sweet onion. So good. And then I rub olive oil all outside the whole cavity, the whole exterior of the turkey, and then I sprinkle some sea salt and garlic powder and pepper on top. Awesome, awesome. So anyway, I let the soup cool. I took it out of the soup pot and cleaned it. And I put it into another bowl, and now I'm gonna ladle it into my Ninja blender, and we're gonna smooth it out. And if it doesn't blend real well, it needs to add a little chicken stock. And I like it really thick, like it's creamy, even though it doesn't have cream, but you can do it any way you like it. If you want it really like watery, I know people that like it that way. There's no right or wrong. So anyway, people can't believe it doesn't have cream in it when I make it thick. Anyway, it's only like 4 or 5 ingredients, so healthy. We're gonna turn it on and we're just going to blend it. Just that simple. It's like very creamy. It looks good. It looks very creamy. I'll probably add a little chicken stock to it because it's really thick, but that's what it's gonna look like. And I pour it back into the soup. I'll probably do this 5 or 6 times. One thing I forgot to tell you is you don't really want to brown the garlic and onion if you want a very pumpkin-y flavor. If you brown them, sometimes I do, I brown it, the garlic, but I try not to because I forgot to tell you it'll discolor the pumpkin soup a little bit. Also, I put some thyme in on the stove before I put it in the blender, so the blender would blend most of it up, and just sprinkle, not too much. You know, thyme has got a very strong flavor. So anyway, and then you'll salt and taste, and you can put more seasoning in later, and more chicken stock to the consistency and the flavor that you like, especially salt, right? You want to be careful with that. Anyway, so I'm gonna turn it off. We're gonna go back on the stove, and it'll be done. Okay guys, so I took the mixture, I put it back into the pot on top of the stove. I'm warming it up. It tastes delicious, but it is really thick, so I'm gonna loosen it up a little bit with some more chicken stock, the 365 Whole Foods brand, organic, low sodium chicken stock. I'm just gonna add a little bit at a time because I don't wanna get too thin. And while this is heating up, and I'm bringing a turkey. That big turkey over there is going to Debbie and her family, and then mine's in the oven because they're eating. Debbie's eating at 6. Me, my mom, Marva, and her husband are eating at 4. So mine's already in, and it's still a little thick. So I'm gonna put some more in. I should have weighed the pumpkin to tell you how much to put in, but I just eye it. What I do is I always put the pumpkin in. I cover it with chicken stock till the chicken stock is all the way covering the pumpkin as I scooped it out from roasting it, and then I just add more later. So I don't think you really need to know exactly how many pounds, just know that you cover it. And I think this is almost there. I think we can make it a little bit looser. I hope this is enough for 10 people. I think Debbie has 6. I think it will be. It's gonna be close. I'm not gonna have a big bowl, but also want to let you know it freezes really well. People always ask me that question. I just wanna taste it to see while it's heating up, to see how it's going. So let's see. Oh my God, this is so good. Maybe just a little bit more salt, because it's really good. That's really good. It's just a little too creamy. So let's see how this goes. And also, since I want more for the 10 people, it is a big soup pot. I'm going to thin it out even a little bit more. Don't worry, I use a clean spoon every time when I taste it.
even though I don't have any germs, a little bit more. So I've used almost 2 of these containers of chicken stock, but remember, I don't think the amount matters too much. You cover the squash after it comes out of being roasted in the oven with the chicken broth, and then you add more like I'm doing as you need it. So you don't really need to measure. That's the way I always go. I never weigh it. And I do use 4 tablespoons of olive oil, which is 120 calories per tablespoon, but you're only gonna get a fraction of that. So maybe it's gonna add 20 calories or 10 calories. This is a very low calorie soup. It's all natural. All we have is, let's count the ingredients: pumpkin, garlic, onion, thyme, sea salt, and pepper. 6 ingredients, that's it. Oh, and chicken stock, 7 ingredients, that's it. Oh, sorry, 8, and a squeeze of a half a lemon. Okay, let me get another spoon. It's starting to heat up. And just a little bit more. It's still a little too creamy. And that's it. I'm gonna put the rest of this in here, and this soup is done. I am confident that this soup is done. It looks delicious. I'm going for a silky rather than very creamy, because I want to make sure I have enough for everybody. So again, the thickness is up to you. There's no wrong or right. Well, I'm probably out of time. I may have to put this on my YouTube channel. But hope you guys enjoyed how to make pumpkin soup. Sorry I didn't do it yesterday so you could make it for Thanksgiving, but you can make it for Christmas or just any day for your family. Soups are great all year long. Hope you all have a great Thanksgiving with your family.